You're listening to Keeba-Live. Let's talk with a man with a loud microphone. Here he is, your host and mine, William Lee. Let's talk. This is a continuance of our series on homeless. And what we've done is we've gone back in the archives of some of the older shows that we did a few years ago with special guests. They talk about how they felt about the homeless and what they feel must be done to take the homeless population off the streets of our fair cities and communities. Now let's listen as our special guest talks to Candace and I about the homeless.
We are privileged to actually have Victoria of Fountain of Living Waters here with us, and she has an amazing outreach in the Federal Way area where she is feeding homeless, and we're kind of curious because we've talked many times. Welcome to the show, Victoria.
Thank you.
We've talked many times, homelessness is not going anywhere. It's kind of here to stay, although we've always had homeless. This isn't...
That's true. We've always had it.
Okay, so I mean, it's not a new topic,
no.
But I think the face of what people's preconceived ideas of homelessness might be.
Yes. Well, one of the things that me and my daughter do when we go out on the streets is we actually ask the people, we let the Lord lead us to where we're supposed to go. And we ask them their story. And it's so important to know their story because, like every single one of us, share our stories. So they've been sharing the last year and a half, they've been sharing their stories on the street with me and my daughter. And a lot of the stories are they don't start off with drugs. That's a misconception. They are out there trying to figure it out. And then because of the hopelessness and feeling like they don't have a way, they end up going into the drugs. And in the woods, the area in Federal Way, we've noticed that they've been gutting out the woods lately and even taking down the trees so that people can't even live in amongst the wooded area. It's horrible because a lot of the campsites they've actually created, if you go back there, it's a whole world within a world. There's even children with their mom and dads back there that are hiding out so then they don't lose their children.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And then you've got the others that have just lost their homes. You've got the age bracket from people in their 70s that are living in their cars or they're living and trying to get enough warmth to make it through. I mean, you've got a vast majority right now. And I look at it this way. We have to be a source of a problem. And how can we help? Because every single one of us is just a step away of being out there on the streets ourselves.
Very true.
So we cannot judge. It's easy to judge those that are out there. But we really have no right to judge, but we have to be an answer to the solution. And that answer is, how do we get them functioning as normal human beings again? What do they need in order for them to get back in the job market? A lot of them are in their 40s and 50s, so therefore they've lost their jobs and then they don't even have another recourse of another job because of their age bracket. And then you got the younger generation in their 20s, and nobody wants to hire them, and they can't make enough money to even get their apartments or get their life spread around. So then they're just feeling hopeless, and they're getting turned on to drugs and all this other stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean they all started out with drugs anymore. Right. It used to be that case, but it's no longer. And then you have the vets that are disability out there too, trying to make it happen. And they're all working amongst themselves. My daughter and I call it an honor to serve these people because a lot of them really don't want handouts.
They want to hand up. They don't want to hand out.
That's right. And what we need to do as a society is find a way of a location for them so they can have lockers so they don't have to hire somebody to actually watch their stuff if they could actually go. They need lockers to put all their belongings in so they don't have to come back to a campsite that was totally stripped of everything they own.
Very true. And this is occurring a lot, I understand, in the city of Tacoma and in Puyallup.
It's all over. It's even now in Milton.
Which is
so,
very
tell
surprising.
me, what does that mean, stripping? I mean, do they steal from one another?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does the authorities
absolutely.
come in and,
no, it's usually
raid them?
The authorities have come in too, and the word on the street is at one point The police department and the Federal mayor at one point, they were giving tents and letting them have tents and umbrellas and sleeping bags. And now, last year, they told them no more. So they're not even wanting them. They're trying to take everything away so then they'll move on. But there's nowhere for them to move on because the population has gotten so thick. And then on top of it, you've got the, which is a totally another subject, but in all that, you also have the slavery that's happening through all that
Absolutely.
too. So when you touch on that homeless, it just branches out to a whole nother ugly animal.
And a lot of people don't really realize how bad it really is getting. I know the city of Puyallup took action because they, with the Pierce County group, cleared the riverbank all the way down, costing the taxpayers $5,800 per campsite because we had to have the hazardous people come in and the state come in and move them out, give them a bus ticket, send them to Fife, send them Federal Way, wherever, don't come back. This is what upsets me about the whole situation. You're right. We need to find a solution. But it's not just taking these people and gathering them up and throwing them away and saying, well, get out of town, leave. I don't want you here anymore. They're humans just like everybody else. And what are we to do? So it's a great honor to be able to talk to somebody as you have done, going out into the trenches and talking with these people and seeing both sides of the picture.
It's amazing to me when you really listen to their story, and we'll give them a blanket, or I'll even run back home. We've made soup before and run it back out to them. I've been a person of my word. When I say I'm going to be back, they know we're going to be back. We've prayed for these people. There are some that don't want to come out of it. And a lot of those are the ones that have had brain injuries and they have mental issues. But the rest of them, they're like, I want off the streets. I want my life back. Mm-hmm. A lot of them even had 3,000 square foot homes and boats and things, and then they went through a divorce and ended up on the street. You've got these stories, and it's these people's stories that actually give them a voice, and they share with us. It's fine having all these different churches and the meals that we're doing, because the Lord says to go out to the highways and the byways and all these different places and to bring them in, but they're not finding they're finding help in that aspect, but they're not finding the long-term help. And what I always say to them is, okay, we're going to give you this food, and we're very generous with our food, and they get to pick even what they want. And we give it to them, and we give them coats and blankets and whatever. And when we do it, I say, okay, this is just the initial help, but how can we serve you? What can we do for you? What are your needs that you need right now? And can we pray for you? And we have found out in the prayers that we've done, simple prayers, it's not judging them, but it's praying for them. And God is answering those things within 24 hours, 8 hours. I mean, we've been hearing miracles upon miracles on that. Wonderful. And, and it has nothing to do with us except listening to their heart and letting God be the judge. And just loving on these people. It doesn't matter how bad they smell. A lot of them smell like alcohol, Right. And we've worked with some of the individuals. Find some kind of a building. We can feed them in the natural, but also feed them in the spiritual. And a lot of them don't even feel welcomed in the churches in Federal Way.
That's really a shame.
And they don't feel welcome because they've been asked to even leave the premises because of what it looks like. They need a shelter of knowing it doesn't matter what you smell like. It doesn't matter what you look like. Let's come into the house of God and let's love on you and see what God wants to do and wash you up, because he's really the only one that can wash us. And he's the one that gives people hope. It's not us. I, Victoria, can't give anybody hope, but Jesus through me can give the hope.
I think you should write a book, Victoria, called Stories from the Street.
Oh, absolutely.
Painting the Face of Homelessness, and taking their stories and because I think that you're absolutely right. I mean, you're coming in and painting a completely different look of what the perceived, notion really is. And I mean, if we were to be really honest, I know that, down at Pike Street, right? I mean, they had a huge homeless population. Well, it doesn't make you feel safe. We leave at a certain time in parts of Seattle because it's like, oh my gosh, it's the perception is that it's not safe. When you have individuals hanging out in front of different businesses, it harms the business community because of the perception. So, and I don't think throwing money at the situation helps. I mean, Africa is such a great example at how the world is gathered and thrown billions of dollars.
And they're still.
And they're worse now than what they were when we started, when I say we the world, started giving money. And there's actually some great articles and some books really on that specific problem. So I don't think throwing money at the problem, throwing money at the problem is the answer.
It's not.
I do think that really answering what the issue is and not getting political, because they can politicize anything, right? We're not talking about it being political, but we are talking. It's a human condition, and it's an aspect to our society that I really feel needs to be addressed. First of all, just the cost to the citizens on taxes and so on. Seattle just spent how much money, Bill, to clean up that one homeless camp? I mean, it was millions.
It was in the millions.
Millions.
And now they're putting a tax together. The new mayor wants to take it up to $1 billion fund to continue on finding places to move these people to, clean up, rehabilitation, and housing.
Well, just clean up alone. Wasn't there something like 23 garbage
trucks that moved? The last site that they moved them out of, it cost the city almost $15,000 to $20,000 a day just to go in there and dig all the garbage up. They had to refence the area, move the traffic. They had urine, they had needles, they had everything that you can imagine to this horrible horror story that they had to remove to protect the citizens in the community.
Well, I just think that if it's more proactive, or if we establish something to give them that hand up. I know that there's a percentage that they don't want to be off the street. They like that environment. They like that lifestyle.
It's familiar for them.
It is, and I don't want to remove that. But what I would really like for us to do as a society, as a community, as churches, find the ones that are really wanting that help up and empowering and having resources that we should be able to do that. And I think that there's a real shift in the mindset of what homelessness really is.
Well, since you're talking about that, you're probably familiar with the MCE project that's up in Federal Way, where they have the homeless vets and they built this huge, great big building and all that.
I don't live far from it.
Unfortunately, my son is one of the security officers there. And it seems that the Federal Way Police Department's attitude is we should just put in a separate precinct house next door to it, because of the prostitution, the drugs, and everything else that's going on within there.
Explain to our listeners, Bill, what exactly is that? I mean,
That is financed by one of the retired military individuals, put together a foundation, and got HUD and got a bunch of the King County officials in and people donating. It is 420 units. It's a great, big, beautiful building. All the units are supplied with forks, knives, clothing, everything. All they have to do, if they qualify, is to move in, and then they're under a Section 8 housing situation that pays back the developer, of course, for the rental. The problem is that once you get in on a Section 8, and I'm not smashing Section 8 because people need Section 8, but unfortunately some of these people, a large percentage of them, continue on with their habits. My son goes out with a bag and a police officer to collect the needles every morning. They're all around the outside behind Haiti. And I hate to see that picture. The building is like, I believe, 17 months old or something of that nature. And it looks like World War III is developed because they don't care. And then to get them out of there, they've gone through 3 managers in a year. Wow. Trying to find the right guy. Okay, and that's basically what it's all about. But the problem is that people don't care. And they're going to be there on Section 8 until a lease comes up. And then if everything's documented, and that's why they have security at night, documenting all this stuff, then they can toss them out.
So, Victoria, how do we as a community, what are maybe the top 3 things that you think that we can we can do. I mean, and that community can be just the churches. It can be, what actions or laws or something that needs to be established. What do you see we can do to empower, let's just say, a more productive lifestyle? Because I don't want to be the hall monitor. I don't want to tell people how to live.
No. Honestly, they really, it's interesting because I'm gonna share. I was thinking about something before you said that, about when my daughter and I went deep into the woods, and we were invited back there. It's not for the faint at heart to be a part of that. And there's even pregnant women back there. You've got all these different variables back there, and they all pretty much have each other's back. And when you're an outsider, one that has a home, one that's literally has a car and everything, when you come into that, they actually are on guard because they're fearful that you're going to come and take away from them. Yes, because that is their home. I mean, I would have to say, thank you for inviting us in, because I knew it was an honor for them to invite us in, like I was going through their front door as though it was on a piece of property that was theirs. And I respected that. But the fact is that for us as a community, I do believe it has to start with the people in the church. I really do. Because that has to be the safe haven, because we're supposed to have the mind of Christ, not the regular people, the mind of Christ. So we're supposed to be the ones loving on the people, not necessarily, we don't like their sin. It's not about their sin, but it's about them having a way of feeling safe, where they can start sharing, and how they can start being accepted for where they're at right there. And once that happens, then all of them, you've got all these different nationalities out there too.
So it's like a subculture within a subculture, and it can, within a subculture, it can be that complex.
And when you have a good name, it actually starts, your name starts getting out there, because they realize I've given my phone number out so much that they know they can call me even at 2:00 in the morning.
Wow.
And I will actually pray for them. And if I've been known to even take them to the hospital where they call me up, I've sat with them in the hospital waiting room and waited for them to get done even. And that's like a 3 or 4 or 5 hour process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's never quick.
And so, they just need to know that they're loved. It is our responsibility. We can feed them. I've got this wonderful idea that I know was the Lord's, and it's really hard for these people, if they wanted to go and get a job, to go to figure out, okay, I got to go to this church and go and eat at this church. And then on Tuesday, I've got to go to this one because they're going to do it, but that's going to take me almost all day to get over to that part of town. Now, if there was one location with all the churches working together, not saying, hey, they're my people, I'm fighting over the people, but there's so many people that need help that we could disperse and do it. But it would be really good, because there's one location, being able to have a different church on a different day where they're doing already, but in one location, so the people come to there and all their needs are being met, and also having lockers for them, and being able so they can go and have their job, start getting their feet on the ground, start being able to have a check in their pocket, adding the money into their pocket, so then they can get on Section 8 or whatever they can, or with several people to get an apartment. There are ways around it, but there's not a shortcut to this. There's just not.